Hello, good morning. This will find you in the morning. My name is Shannon Robinson. I'm a professional counselor um, with accelerated counseling and seasons counseling, kind of in South Central Wisconsin. I've been a counselor for about 30 years, so just want to let you know that. Also, actively involved in sports or coaching over the years, etc. I've done employee assistance, I've done student assistance, I've worked in college settings, among other settings. And I was asked to kind of help out to some degree. I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint here shortly, and we can go through that as quickly as possible. I know your time is limited, and again, I appreciate you all taking the time to watch this video. So I will share my screen here and we'll get started. Stress management, performance, and teamwork efforts. And again, hopefully I cover the bases that you all hope for, that you responded to with regards to your survey that Aubrey had set up recently. And what issues affect you the most. And those answers came out to be number one, performance-related concerns, then anxiety, stress, and connections. I'll kind of lump all those. If I did have to lump all those in one topic, it definitely would be stress. They're all kind of related in large part to stress. But that was in order of importance and how often it was responded that way. So I appreciate your efforts on getting those surveys in. You did a really good job with that as well. Appreciate all the comments as well. This question, I think I paraphrased this a little bit. What area would be most important for our team to improve upon? Emotional regulation, facing adversity, and understanding one another were the top three answers to that question. Kind of in line with the concerns you had on the previous slide. Teamwork. Interesting. 75% of your team feel that there's not enough team unity. 75% of you feel unity would improve team performance. 75% rate team atmosphere a 3 on a 1 to 5 scale. So just to give you a little snapshot, that's, a whole 3/4 of the team kind of are in lockstep with one another in terms of their sense of this particular area. And again, I appreciate you taking the time to fill out the survey. Really good job with that. I'll start with, teamwork, working together, all those different kind of phrases and words that go together, and talk about synergy real quick. And again, this might be review for some of you. Some of you might have done papers on this type of thing before. I'm not so sure, but I'll just highlight a few things in regards to teamwork that I've always found kind of interesting and I think fit when you're looking at the whole dynamics of teamwork. I've done corporate teamwork in the past, somewhat similar, but a little different when you're dealing with college athletics as well. The definition of synergy is that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And just reread that. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. From a team building perspective, nothing is more important. I always give this example. Imagine a team of great individual players that never passes. I come from a hockey and baseball background, obviously with baseball it is kind of a little bit different, but with hockey, the players that don't pass struggle, in terms of team performance, certainly. But they could be all great players, but if you never pass, how does a team do well? Rhetorically, how does a team do? Some of you have probably seen the story about geese and how they interact in the world. And have you ever wondered why geese fly in a V formation? It is because the flock can fly 71% farther than if they flew alone. So imagine that for a second. If one goose flew 10 miles together in a V formation, they can fly 17 miles. That's an incredible difference. Just because of them working together in a V formation. And they take turns leading and rotate out when they're tired. And this one always catches me too, is a unique feature of geese and behavior that they do is when one of the geese is sick or can't fly for some reason, two others will actually escort it to the ground, and they wait until that particular goose is able to fly, and I'm sure some of them don't make it, but they stay with them. So almost kind of escort them and nurse them back and help them get back into the flock. So kind of just an amazing in the animal kingdom that there's things like this that working in unison, and the research supports that. So team points to ponder. And this is something I would encourage you all to do maybe at a later team meeting of some kind. It could be after this particular meeting or after your practice today. What are your definitions of a team? Sometimes that can be very enlightening in terms of expectations and so on and so forth. Are team roles defined? I usually point to the movies, and some of you probably have seen these movies. If you haven't, I highly recommend them. The movie Rudy, which actually ironically there's a character in that movie that was my great uncle, Dan Devine, not played accurately, but definitely a role in that movie. But Rudy you can definitely see the person's role in a particular sports team, that being football, and how important he took his role in preparing his teammates, and the trials and tribulations of being in that role. But Rudy's a great movie. And if you haven't seen Miracle, I think there's a Netflix documentary on the Miracle on Ice of 1980. The movie Miracle is fantastic if you haven't seen that one. I always highlight the backup goalie. The documentary that's out right now also highlights that particular backup goalie. I was a goalie, so anything goalie is kind of near and dear to me. But that particular goalie did not step on the ice in 1980 at the Olympics. He was the only player of all the teams that participated in the hockey event that did not touch the ice, but he met his future wife there at Lake Placid, New York, and he calls himself, I believe he says, I was the luckiest guy on the team. So just perspective kind of thing. So, and then the next question is, are team goals clear? That would be something for you guys to all discuss and find out, are the goals clear? Are we all in alignment with that? So on and so forth. And then also, is there an understood method of communication to all teammates? How do you guys communicate with one another? How do you communicate to the whole team? Is it, I guess, texting, messaging, social media? Is there a designated or dedicated line of communication from coaches to teammates, from teammates to teammates, etc.? All important to have that kind of figured out. Maybe some of that is figured out, but moving on. More team points. And again, these questions may take time to complete. It might be something to share at a later team meeting. Notice differences in the answers, which directly affect team expectations, motivations, and preparation. And then also notice areas where there's agreement, which is great. If there's lots of agreement areas, again, you guys had 75% agreement on a variety of topics already, so that's a really good starting point. If you had 75% of you are on the same page, good starting point. Would be nice to be higher than that on areas of goals and expectations, communication, whatnot. So the hot seat. This is an activity that is near and dear to me. I've used it for 20 years at least. And it is a communication technique that can promote some anxiety. That's why they call it the hot seat. But it's also quite rewarding. And honestly, as a group activity, as a team activity, I have not seen one better than this in terms of keeping everybody's attention and the importance and the depth that I see that comes from it. Sometimes it's a little bit surfacey, I like your shoes, something to that effect. But often it has some value to it. It has some substance to it. So I encourage you guys to give this a try if you have an opportunity to do it. It'd be nice to do it with the whole team as well. You can even have coaches involved as well. So keep that in mind. It's really communication and feedback. It's feedback. Feedback, as I have said here, giving respectful and direct feedback is a learned skill. Not everybody is equipped with that at any age, and sometimes it takes practice to get good at it. In this exercise, you'll be putting chairs in a circle, and then you put one chair in the middle, which is AKA the hot seat, and each take turns sitting there. The teammates on the outside are tasked with giving the teammate in the middle chair, as they turn their chair to face each speaker, a compliment of something they notice they're doing well as an encouragement regarding something they can work on moving forward. So you're kind of giving something that you highlight and something that you say, hey, please work on this. I really want you to work on this. Those can be challenging to come up with. It takes some thought. I usually allow people maybe one pass per round in terms of, come back to me, or you can pass one of the people on the outside. Again, you can have some internal rules on that if you'd like, or guidelines. I encourage the speaker should speak respectfully and assertively, and keep the words connected to the two comments only. The teammate in the hot seat shall try to give good eye contact when listening, head nods, and gratitude when the speaker is done, even if you disagree. So sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. And then just change spots. The next person gets into the hot seat and move on from there. Again, to improve understanding of one another, compliment one another, giving feedback. Sometimes it's constructive criticism. Sometimes it's, again, it's an encouragement. It's like, here is something I'm hoping to see more from you moving forward. And that can have some clarifying effects. And again, we're trying to move from, complaints down the hall to collaboration together. That's what we're trying to do, complaints to collaboration. So hopefully it's something you can try. Here's some perspective and embrace, and I really want you to embrace and cherish this, but this perspective thing. You are each uniquely talented, motivated, spirited, and challenged. We all have our own personal strengths and weaknesses. I have a lot of those. If you think about it, you're already elite college student athletes. Just crunching some numbers, you're one of about 250 women water polo players at the D3 level in the nation. In a country of 340 million people, plus or minus, less than 1,600 female student athletes play college level water polo. Look what you already achieved. Look what you've already, embraced and said, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to give my, energies to. So it's already incredible what you're already doing. So keep that in mind. That's a perspective shift, at least from my perspective. Moving to kind of self-care or taking care of ourselves. Often a feature in team peak performance is that of self-care. The off-season and in-season habits can have a direct impact on personal and team successes, all the while balancing academics with your chosen sport. I mentioned I was a hockey player. I did have the opportunity to earn a spot on a Division III hockey team, UW-Eau Claire. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that second part to that. I could not balance my academics with my hockey playing. Hockey became overwhelmingly so, and immediately realized that academically I was going to suffer at UW-Eau Claire in my classes. So I ended up not participating, and I think I made the team and maybe a week before the first game and decided to part ways. In hindsight, yeah, could have stuck it out, but it probably would have cost me some academic success as well. So at that time, but balancing is very important. Self-care can come in all shapes and sizes, and what works for one does not always work for another, but the intention is the same, being as successful as you personally can be in and out of the water. Self-care, an overarching topic of wellness, can include domains such as physical fitness, emotional awareness and control, nutrition, interpersonal or social, intellectual, and vocational even. as you're all kind of on career paths and so on and so forth, figuring those things out. A key point to focus on regarding holistic wellness is finding balance. When one domain is overly taxed, another domain is increased to create balance. So finding what kind of helps offset some of the energies that maybe one area is kind of overwhelming us in, but we increase this one to kind of offset that, and that's helping balance. Stress management and student athlete. All student athletes experience stress. It's a given. It's the nature of attending and succeeding in college is stressful in and of itself. Playing a college level sport is stressful. Doing both is even more stressful. Although some of that stress might be positive, we call it eustress. Instead of distress, it's eustress. But it still taxes us. It still wears and tears on us. A student athlete that incorporates stress management efforts into their schedule will likely perform better in the classroom as well as in their chosen sport. So keep that in mind. That's the overriding emphasis on this, stress management. And again, many of you might be doing things already, might be looking at making a change, or it might be something that's, oh yeah, this just kind of validates what I'm doing. As you're already engaged in a vigorous physical program with water polo, we will focus on other interventions and preventions of stress, though there sometimes needs to be a balance. And what I mean by that, the physical exertion, like cross training, there might be if you're kind of myopic and just doing water polo, you might miss out on other types of physical activities that might help balance some of that out. Again, cross training, aka cross training. So keep that in mind as well. I'm going to highlight a few areas. These are things that we can, I can definitely provide more information, or it's something you can explore on your own as well. But there are different ways to manage stress and prevent stress in the first place. And I'll just start off with cognitive behavioral techniques, which has been around since the early 1980s, late 1970s. There's been a real, cognitive psychology is a real popular approach. I use it every day pretty much in my work. And it really, cognitive behavioral is a field of psychology is developed to approach and monitor and manage our thinking, namely distorted thinking, that can directly affect our emotions, relationships, and our performance. And just to highlight that, I actually did a master's thesis regarding Martin Seligman, who was a psychiatrist who could predict wins and losses of an NBA basketball games just by reading players' quotes from newspaper articles after the previous game. He would actually use that information and apply it to really cognitive, and they call it attributional style to get specific. But it's basically looking at how are these people thinking after a game, whether they won or lost, and he'd use that information. I believe his stats were like 80% effective in predicting the next game of those particular teams. Might have been higher than that. So that's a really good approach. Sometimes our thinking is just off. Sometimes our thinking is, it doesn't help. It's something that they call it distorted thinking. And there are some tendencies and patterns we can get into. And once you start monitoring those and managing those and kind of having rational responses to those, it can really, really help overall mood, relationships, performance. So keep that in mind. Sleep hygiene. I don't know if you guys are burning the candle at both ends. Or if you all are going, I need to be asleep at 10 o'clock and I get up at 6 a.m. I don't know if you're doing that, but sleep hygiene, which is something I need to work on always, is very, very important. And especially with recovery, when you guys are physically enduring a lot, and your recovery, whether it's rest days, recovery nights, so important for you guys to get you back into your peak, physical conditioning. Nutrition is right along with that. Prepare a meal plan each week that fits well with daily and sport demands, and then supplement where needed. There are a host of supplements. Some of you are probably on some that can help with a variety of different things. I usually, in my work, I'm focused on the mental health side of things often. So anything that supports those things, and there's a variety of them. We can spend hours talking about supplements and how they can be helpful in helping manage stress overall. I'll throw an example. GABA, G-A-B-A, is a supplement that's out there that can help with reduce overall the stress response and allow us to kind of recalibrate and kind of settle our nervous system down. There's many others that do the same thing. Anything that's anti-inflammatory can have that effect as well. So nutrition, very important. Here's a Here's a variety of things I just threw out here. Relaxation exercises. There's so many options for that. I give an example of deep abdominal breathing, 20 to 30 reps of that in a row. It's basically slow, deep breathing when you kind of stick your belly out when you're inhaling and exhaling slowly. Progressive relaxation, which is another one that's out there. Autogenic training, very similar, a little bit different kind of thing you're imagining, but guided imagery, which is probably my number one favorite. Um, Beach scenes, forest scenes, you know, you know, endless possibilities with that one. But guided imagery is really, really powerful at reducing stress, reducing blood pressure, heart rate, uh, corticoids and cortisols in the body. Really, really helpful. All these are really meditation, which is another option. I also put on the right side there goal setting, time management, and vagus nerve stimulation. The vagus nerve is really controls our stress response in our body. So anything that helps stimulate the vagus nerve is going to help you calm down and regulate. So if you want to do a little reading on vagus nerve stimulation, they do sell little stimulators now that you can put to your throat or on your throat like that. They go as far as implants even for people that are, overly anxious and so on and so forth. I'm not recommending that at this point in time, but there are other ways to stimulate your vagus nerve. Cold water splashes. You guys probably know all about different temperatures of water, but hot, cold, a regular shower, let's say, and then at the end doing 30 seconds of cold water. Really, really positive for calming our nervous system down because it stimulates the vagus nerve. So keep that in mind. This is a social kind of thing, but assertive communication, skill building. Assertive communication, again, is promoted across so many different domains and different types of methodologies at helping reduce stress in relationships. So keep that one in mind. Music and sound therapy. And what I mean by sound therapy, there's now some evidence that different types of frequencies can be very, very helpful. There's one called 432 hertz. You can pop it on Spotify and listen to it if you want to with your headset. And that particular wavelength is supposed to be anti-anxiety, anti-stress, and there's a variety of other ones, 528 hertz, and on up and down the different levels of different hertz and frequencies, and they can be very helpful. Music in of itself, a vagus nerve stimulator is singing, so humming, singing can be very powerful. The vagus nerve actually connects to the vocal cords, as well as your heart, by the way. So if you ever have a heartbreak, it's your vagus nerve being broken. It's the vagus nerve that feels it when your heart's broken in relationships or whatnot. Art, creative things, journaling can be powerful. I do have a couple of people right now that are journaling a lot, and they got books and they bring them into me and here, read this. I'm like, I don't know if I have an hour, but it's a amazing outlet for a lot of people. Some of you have probably done it. On top of that, there's with journaling, or what we call writing the unmailable letter. Maybe there's some letters you want to write to people with grievances or hurts or even positive things, but you don't want to mail it. You can actually do unmailable things and just put them in a shoebox or bury them or burn them in a fire or whatever you want to do. So here's some mindfulness techniques, which also are kind of stress management related, but they're a little bit different. It's they talk about 5 senses checks, which is really just kind of sitting wherever you're at and kind of using your eyes. What do I see? Check your surroundings, maybe in your visual field. What do I see? Colors, objects, shadows, movement, things like that. What do I hear? All the different sounds that you're hearing, and take 10 to 30 seconds for each sense. You can go, obviously, am I smelling anything? Is there any fragrances that are out there? Taste. Am I tasting the meal I just had, or and then tactile stuff. Is there the clothing I'm wearing, or the temperature, or is there a breeze? All those things can be very powerful, and they all reduce stress. Square breathing, which is just a kind of a deep breathing technique. It's really often it's called 4-4-4, which is you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, and you exhale for 4 seconds, and then do that 4 times. Um, the exhale is the most important for stress management, so keep that in mind. If you're going to exhale, try to exhale as long as you can. Very helpful at reducing stress. Mindful observation, that is a technique of picking an object out in your visual field or any object really, and just noticing everything about it, the texture, any shadows, any lightness differences, colors differences, the size and shape of the thing. You can, examine an object, even a piece of paper, and you can just examine things. Looking at the clouds, you can see all the different colors and so on and so forth. So mindful observation, very powerful mindfulness technique. Mindful gifting, you can really give with such purpose. Maybe it's, you know, the whole process of I'm going to look for a gift for my friend, and it's the process and anticipation of what would I like to get my friend, and looking for that gift, finding that gift, maybe even wrapping that gift, all the way to the point of giving that gift, and then after the gift giving, and that whole process of mindful gifting can be a very stress reducing and really kind of inspiring kind of a thing. And then mindful gratitude. I think gratitude is often underdone by most people. Is just think of all the things you're thankful for. Maybe having a gratitude jar and write those down and put them in. You could do that for the team. The team could have a gratitude jar, and have, or a jug, and have just little things that you're thankful for. Thankful. It doesn't have to have names or anything like that, but it could be really thankful that Aubrey, had set this up. Things like that. And then mindful injury healing. Um, this is something we'll get into in a little bit, but just being mindful about imagining your injuries healing, when it comes to like guided imagery we talked about earlier, to what we're going to talk about here in a couple of slides. You can actually expedite healing from injuries at times just by using mindfulness techniques to promote healing. There's one on there called autogenic training. You're imagining heat or blood going to a certain area and warmth being in a certain area. Well, that actually is happening. And because actually when you do relaxation exercises, you can actually put your hand to your face, and if your hand feels hot or warm, it's a sign that the relaxation response is happening, which is opposite of stress. So relaxation and stress. So keep that in mind. And what makes personal stress management so important is because you control more or less whether you do it or not. I always tell people you have 100% say if you do it or not. And if you're going to make a point of it, like I'm going to add something to my daily routine that's going to help me manage stress, it's you. It's up to you. You're not counting on anybody else necessarily. Improving performance, which was one of your top three or four items. Team synergy, personal stress management often have a significant effect on peak performance experiences. Peak performance moments, often called flow or being in the zone, can be influenced by multiple factors. There's one technique that I want to talk about today, and maybe this is something that some of you already utilize or do, or coaches have suggested, but is visualization. There are research on this. Sport visualization has been shown to improve sports performance 30 to 35%. And just imagine that for a second. If you could improve your performance by a third, would you do it? Would it be something you'd be interested in doing? I'm all about that. A customary method is to visualize each aspect of what you do throughout a sporting event, imagining what each of your senses experience during that event. You can visualize peak or perfect moments, that perfect pass, that perfect goal, that perfect save, etc., as well as even challenging moments and how you can successfully respond to those moments at a given time. Honestly, in high school, I started doing visual as a goalie in hockey. I visualized probably the 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes before game time. And I would kind of zone out and just visualize each of my save moves, stick side high, glove side high, etc., and go through all those moves and imagine probably 3 or 4 times each, and imagine making those moves fast or quick, so on and so forth. So I did utilize it definitely in high school, probably not enough in college. I wasn't there long enough to do it there, but so again, visualization, and again, if I'm not stressing it enough, it can help a lot. Practicing visualization daily has shown the most increase in performance. So a daily kind of an effort on this. Visualization helps with the brain body connection and allows many more repetitions of a sport experience. So think about it this way: is you have certain practice time, 3 hours a day or whatever you're doing. You can increase that by another hour, another half hour, if you're using visualization. It's great for athletes that are injured that cannot be in the water for a period of time. Kind of going back to what we said earlier, there's different ways, but boy, your brain can go through a practice without being in the water, just by visualization. Um, yeah, I mean, you can visualize game time, practice time, whatever it might be. It increases holistic confidence in your abilities. Confidence was mentioned in your survey as well. And this can help increase, number one, it increases the quantity of peak performance moments. If your performance is going up a third overall, your confidence is going to naturally kind of grow right with it. So you by effective already experienced the hope for outcome internally. I also played high school golf. We did use visualization in that sport as well, especially shot by shot by shot by shot. I probably didn't do it consistently enough, but that's why I wasn't a pro. But it is something where, I mean, I do remember visualizing shots through little gaps in trees. Why was I in the trees? That's the problem. But little gap in a spot. And more times than not, the golf ball went through that spot. And it's because I was visualizing the ball flight and so on and so forth. And it's triggering your brain to go, oh, I've already done this. And muscle memory just kind of takes over. So that brain body connection. So visualization is a hard word for me to say, but hopefully it's something you guys can try. That's about it that I have for today. Hopefully I didn't take too much of your time, but thank you for letting me share some of my thoughts and ideas on these particular topics, and all the best in the rest of your season. Go Firebirds! All right. Thank you. And we'll follow up if needed. Otherwise, I'm sure Aubrey will be in contact with me. But again, I wish you all the best. Thank you.